Have you ever felt like you don't belong here? Like you were sent for something bigger, but the world keeps trying to make you forget it? Then you didn't click on this video by accident. You were called to it. Welcome to Heaven's Chosen, a space not for the crowd, but for the few. The few who feel different. The few who carry a fire inside that won't die. This message is for you. In this video, you're not just going to listen. You're going to remember who you are. You're going to awaken what the world tried to bury. And by the end, you'll never see your life the same again. So sit back. Watch this alone. Because God doesn't speak to noise. He speaks to those who are finally ready to hear. Let's begin. You're not crazy for feeling like this world doesn't understand you. That feeling in your chest? That pressure that builds when you're around people who just don't get it? It's not anxiety, it's awareness. You see things others ignore. You feel things others bury. Because you were never meant to follow the crowd. You were marked, chosen, and no matter how much you try to silence it, that voice inside you won't stop calling. Most people live their whole lives pretending, wearing masks, fitting in. You tried that, and it nearly killed your spirit. You smiled when you were breaking. You agreed when your soul screamed no. And now, God is saying, enough. He's calling you back, to your truth, to your mission. You're not meant to disappear. You're meant to awaken. Have you noticed how certain things affect you more deeply than others? How lies make your stomach turn, how injustice makes your hands shake, how beauty moves you to tears. That's not weakness. That's evidence. Evidence of the soul within you that's still intact, still sensitive to what matters. That's why you're here. To remind the world what it forgot. You weren't called to be liked. You were called to be light. And light doesn't ask for permission to shine. It just does. You're not here to convince anyone of your worth. You're here to walk in it, even if it means walking alone, especially then. Because the truth always walks alone first, before it leads. This is your moment of remembrance. You didn't stumble on this message. You were guided. Out of millions of voices, you heard this one. Because heaven doesn't broadcast on every channel. It whispers on a frequency only the chosen can hear. And right now, you're hearing it, loud and clear. They thought you were weak because you were alone. They thought you were finished because you were quiet. What they didn't know was that solitude is God's classroom. And you were in session. While they laughed, you learned. While they ignored you, you were being equipped. You weren't being left behind. You were being trained in private for a victory they wouldn't understand. You ever notice how the ones with the loudest opinions live the emptiest lives? But the ones who spend time in silence, they carry something different. Depth, power, purpose, that's you. The world will never understand why you walked away, why you stopped explaining, why you went missing. But heaven knew. Heaven called you aside to whisper what it wouldn't shout. Sometimes God has to strip everything away so you finally see what you were holding on to. The friendships, the distractions, the ego, the fear. And when you're left with nothing but silence, that's when you finally hear him. The voice that says, I've been here all along. And now, you're finally listening. You thought isolation was punishment, but it was actually protection. Not everyone could come with you. Not everyone was allowed to access your growth. And when they turned their backs, God said, "Good, now I can show you who really stands with you, me." The removal wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Don't curse the cave. That cave was sacred. That cave is where you transformed, where you met yourself again, where you found God in the silence and remembered your name. That cave is why you're rising now, stronger, wiser, and no longer afraid to walk alone. You survived what others didn't even see. The nights you cried alone, the mornings you forced yourself to rise, the moments when giving up felt like the only option. And yet, here you are, not broken, but built. Not lost, but awakened. That darkness wasn't the end of you. It was the birthplace of your strength. Because what lives inside you is forged in fire, not comfort. Most people want the glory, but they run from the shadows. You didn't. You walked through them. You questioned everything. You screamed into the silence. And that's why your soul is different now. Your scars didn't just teach you pain, they taught you perspective. You can see through lies now. You can feel when something's not right. That's the wisdom of a survivor. Sometimes the greatest favor God does for you is letting everything fall apart. Because when you have nothing left, you finally see what can't be taken. Your soul, your truth, your connection to something greater. The pain made you let go of what was killing you slowly. And when the fire passed, what remained was real. If the darkness hadn't touched you, you would still believe in the illusion. You would still chase empty things, but you saw it. The void behind the smile, the silence behind the noise. And now you know, everything you need is already within you. It just needed the dark to be revealed. Don't regret the suffering. It taught you what the light never could. The darkness gave you the vision to see the unseen. It stripped away the fake. It baptized you in truth. And though it tried to destroy you, it only made you undeniable. You didn't come out of the dark. You brought light into it. You've asked yourself 1,000 times, why me? Why does it feel like life hits me harder than others? And now you're starting to understand. It was never random. The enemy doesn't attack those who are asleep. He goes after the ones waking up, the ones who carry truth in their voice, light in their eyes, fire in their soul. That's why you were targeted, because you're dangerous to darkness. They didn't just lie about you. They tried to break your spirit. They tried to make you doubt your own worth. They threw shade, betrayal, loss, anything that could get you to forget who you are. But it didn't work, because something inside you kept rising, kept moving, kept believing that there had to be something more. What you faced wasn't proof of weakness. It was evidence of calling. They attacked because they felt what was on you before you even saw it. Your aura irritated their demons. Your peace disrupted their chaos. Your silence spoke louder than their noise. And deep down, they feared what would happen if you ever stepped fully into your power. Every wound was strategic. Every betrayal was surgical. The enemy wasn't trying to inconvenience you. He was trying to silence you, to discourage you just enough to never step into the purpose that was waiting. But here's the truth. He failed. You're still standing, still chosen, still rising. And now you understand the game. The attacks didn't break you, they revealed you. The pain didn't bury you, it planted you. And the next time life hits, you won't ask, why me? You'll say, of course me. I'm the threat they didn't see coming. And heaven? Heaven is just getting started with you. You never asked for this. You never begged to stand out. You were just being yourself, kind, deep, real. And yet, the more you revealed your light, the more the world tried to dim it. They didn't applaud your spirit, they envied it, because your presence exposed their pretending. And your gifts? They made you a target. Not because you flaunted them, but because you couldn't hide them, even when you tried. From a young age, you sensed the shift when you walked into a room. The way people stared, the way some admired, but most resented. You were never average, and they knew it. Not because you said it, but because everything about you whispered it. You carried something ancient, something heaven-ordained, and in a world addicted to surface, that kind of depth makes people uncomfortable. You tried shrinking. You tried playing small, fitting in, toning it down. But it didn't work, because what lives inside you was never meant to be muted. Your creativity, your intuition, your fire. These weren't random traits. They were tools for impact. But with every tool comes weight, and with every gift comes warfare. Not everyone wants to see you win. Some are sent just to distract you from your own calling. People mocked what they didn't understand. They labeled your boldness as arrogance, your silence as coldness, your kindness as naivety. But it was never about you. It was about what your presence made them feel. Insecure, exposed, convicted. That's the price of being chosen. You don't just shine, you trigger shadows. But here's the truth. The same gifts that made you a target are the same ones that will make you unstoppable. Every battle was confirmation. Every attack was a signpost. You were never meant to hide. You were meant to lead. And now, you're done apologizing for who you are. They didn't see it. No one saw it. The nights you laid on the floor whispering, "Use me." The mornings you rose in silence, choosing discipline over comfort. The moments you forgave when you had every reason not to. That's why God chose you. Not because you shouted, but because you whispered yes when no one else was listening. Your surrender in secret shook heaven. While the world chased applause, you chased alignment. While others begged for validation, you just wanted direction. You weren't looking to be seen. You were looking to be guided. And that's the kind of heart God trusts. A heart that doesn't need a spotlight to stay faithful. A heart that obeys even in darkness. A heart that says, even if no one claps, I'll still answer the call. God doesn't choose the loudest. He chooses the loyal. He doesn't anoint the popular. He anoints the available. And you made yourself available when it was hardest. You walked away from what was killing your spirit. You released what you couldn't carry anymore. You died to your ego. And in doing so, you made room for something eternal to live in you. People may overlook you, but heaven never did. Your name has been whispered in divine places. Your tears collected. Your prayers recorded. You think you're surviving, but God sees you as rising. Every small yes you gave in private is preparing you for a public shift. What was hidden is about to be revealed. So don't envy the fast track. Don't crave the platform. What you're building is deeper, stronger, real. And when God moves you, no one can undo it, because you didn't climb your way in. You were called in. And when you're called, you don't beg for a seat. The table is prepared for you. You didn't just go through pain. You inherited it. You carried wounds that didn't start with you, patterns that repeated like echoes from the past. You saw things in your family that were never spoken about. You felt the silence, the guilt, the shame, passed down like an invisible curse. But what no one told you is that you weren't sent to suffer it. You were sent to stop it. The cycle ends with you. The anger, the fear, the scarcity, the betrayal. These weren't just your experiences. They were legacies you were brave enough to face. You didn't numb it. You didn't pass it on. You stood in the middle of it all and said, "No more." That choice made you a warrior. Not because you fought others, but because you fought what others refused to confront within themselves. There were moments you thought you were breaking, but in reality, something ancient was breaking through you. A system, a stronghold, a pattern that had repeated for generations. You cried for things you couldn't explain. You felt heavy for no reason. But the reason was this: your soul was battling for freedom, not just for you, but for everyone who comes after you. You think the pain was punishment, but it was permission to change everything. You were chosen not to continue what was broken, but to heal what was ignored. That's why it hurt so deeply. That's why the weight felt unbearable. Because you were carrying not just your story, but the buried grief of those who never got the chance to heal. And now you walk differently. You speak with clarity. You love with boundaries. You don't carry guilt for setting yourself free. You carry purpose. You carry power. And when they ask how you did it, you'll smile and say, "It broke me, but it also broke the curse. And that's why I'm whole." You've been looking for a sign, a confirmation, a voice from the clouds to say, "Now is your time." But what if I told you the sign is you? You're waiting for a miracle, not realizing that your very existence is a miracle. You've survived too much, seen too much, grown too much, to act like you're not ready. Heaven already gave you permission. Now, it's your move. The truth is, the world isn't waiting for another prophecy. It's waiting for you to step into who you already are. You've been equipped. The ideas, the wisdom, the fire in your bones. It's not random. It's a blueprint. And while you hesitate, people are out there waiting for what only you can bring. What you call fear is actually sacred responsibility. You were hoping for a green light, but God already opened the road. You keep checking for doors, not realizing you're the one who's supposed to build them. Your voice, your energy, your presence, it shifts rooms. You're not here to fit in. You're here to initiate, lead, break molds. And yes, that's scary, but so is regret. And you've been silent long enough. Stop disqualifying yourself because of your past. God doesn't use perfect people. He uses willing ones. You weren't chosen because you had it all together. You were chosen because, despite the chaos, you still chose to rise, to believe, to love, to keep going. That's what separates you. That's what makes you the message the world needs to hear. So today, stop looking for a sign. Stand up and become it. Be the proof. Be the miracle. Be the shift in your bloodline, your community, your world. Because if you're still breathing, then purpose still lives in you. You're not waiting on destiny. Destiny has been waiting on you. There's something about you that stirs the room before you even speak. You've seen it, how some people light up when you walk in, and others suddenly go quiet. It's not because of what you say. It's because of what you carry. Your energy speaks to something in them that they've been trying to avoid. You remind people of who they could be, and that terrifies them. You were never just another person in the crowd. You've always been a mirror. When you show up in your authenticity, people either rise to meet their own, or they run. That's not your fault. That's your power. You're not here to entertain. You're here to awaken. And awakenings are uncomfortable. They shake people. They expose what's been asleep inside them for too long. That's why some left you without warning. That's why some turned cold when you started glowing. It wasn't personal. It was spiritual. Your growth made their stagnation impossible to ignore. Your peace made their chaos feel louder. Your presence whispered truths their ego wasn't ready to hear. And still, you kept shining. That's what makes you unstoppable. Don't shrink to keep the peace. Don't dim your light to protect someone else's illusion. You weren't born to make people comfortable. You were born to make people conscious. Every time you speak your truth, you shake foundations. Every time you choose integrity, you draw lines in the sand. That's not rebellion. That's leadership. And the ones who are meant to walk with you? They'll feel seen by your presence, not threatened. They'll hear your truth and say, "That's what I've been waiting for." So stop trying to be accepted. Start standing in your assignment. Your presence doesn't just change rooms, it changes lives. Sometimes, even without a single word. You've been through enough to think it was over. You've buried pieces of yourself in every battle. Said goodbye to versions of you that didn't survive the fire. And still, you're here. Still breathing. Still rising. That's not coincidence. That's evidence. Evidence that God's not done with you. That everything you walked through was setting the stage for what comes next. The world told you to move on, to forget, to heal quickly. But you took your time. You felt every bruise, every scar, every lesson. You didn't just survive, you transformed. And now you walk with weight, with wisdom, with clarity. The kind that only comes from knowing what it costs to truly rise. You don't just stand, you ascend. This isn't the end of your story. It's the reveal, the unveiling of who you were always becoming. Every delay, every detour, every heartbreak was written into your preparation. What others thought disqualified you only deepened you. And now, heaven is saying, step forward, you're ready. You don't need another sign, you are the proof. You've outgrown your cage, the pain no longer fits. The fear no longer controls. What's ahead of you is bigger than what's behind. But you have to walk toward it, even when your knees shake, even when your heart doubts. That's what faith looks like, moving, even when your past screams, stay. So rise, not because it's easy, but because it's time. Rise because you've been chosen, because your voice is needed. Your story is sacred. Your presence is power. This is not your ending. This is your activation. And when you walk forward, the doors will open, the path will clear, and heaven will whisper, "That's my chosen one." If you felt something today, a shift, a spark, a memory of who you really are, don't ignore it. That was your soul waking up. That was God reminding you. You were never ordinary. You were always chosen. You didn't find this message. It found you. And not to inspire you for a moment, but to awaken you for a mission. So now I ask you, what spoke to your heart the most? What part of this message felt like it was written just for you? I want to know. We want to know. Scroll down to the comments and let your voice be heard. And if you've made it this far, if you've walked with me through every word, every truth, every fire, comment below. Heaven's chosen. So I know you're one of the few. Because the truth is, you weren't just meant to hear this. You were meant to carry it forward. Until next time, stay true, stay grounded, and never forget who you are. The world is waiting for the real you.